I wasn't supposed to be home that night. My team trip to Denver got cut short, client cancelled last minute, and I figured I'd surprise my wife. Maybe take her to that little Thai place she loves. I didn't even text her. Just grabbed my overnight bag, drove 3 hours straight, and parked quietly out front like I was sneaking into my own life. The lights were on. Our bedroom window, glowing. And the front door? Unlocked. That should have been my first clue. I stepped in. It was too quiet. Not the kind of quiet you expect from a peaceful evening, the kind that feels staged. Then I heard it. Voices. Upstairs. Muffled, rhythmic. I remember walking up the steps slowly, like my brain didn't want to catch up to my ears. My palms were sweating. My heart was somewhere between my throat and the floor. When I opened the door, I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. My wife was in bed, our bed, with a man I didn't recognize at first. But she wasn't shocked. She didn't scream. She didn't even look guilty. She just blinked, covered herself slowly, and said, "You're home early." Like I was the one who ruined the evening. The man beside her scrambled to cover himself, face flushed. I recognized him now. I'd seen him once before, at her office's holiday party. Her boss. The guy I used to joke about. The one she always called harmless. The one I let her travel with on conferences. I backed out. Didn't yell. Didn't cry. Just walked down the stairs like I'd stepped on a landmine but hadn't exploded yet. And then I heard her voice behind me. "Don't make this bigger than it is." That was the moment I knew. This wasn't the first time. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't go back to the house. Didn't call anyone. I just drove aimlessly, parked in some grocery store lot around 2 a.m., and sat there trying to convince myself I'd imagined it. That it wasn't her voice saying, "Don't make this bigger than it is." Like she tripped over a coffee table, not my entire life. By morning I wasn't angry. I was cold. Numb. I went back to our joint bank account, the one we use for house expenses, trips, dinners, shared stuff. And that's when the real betrayal started. I filtered the statements by date. Every business trip she'd taken in the last 18 months, all those conferences, seminars, leadership retreats, flights, hotel bookings, dinners, they were all paid from our personal account. Not her company's. Mine. I dug deeper. Found Venmo transfers labeled, "Reimburse boss." Dinner with A. Hotel incidentals. She wasn't just sleeping with the guy. She was making me fund it. I checked old emails, itineraries she'd forwarded. Guess whose name was listed under, guest who, in every booking? Him. He'd stayed in my house. Worn my cologne. And then, he'd slept with my wife on my sheets, while I paid the cleaning bill. This wasn't an affair. It was a system. And I had no idea how far it went. I took a week off work. Told my boss I was dealing with a family situation. He didn't ask, just gave me a long stare and said, "Take what you need." I went home when I knew she wouldn't be there. Packed a bag, changed the locks, disconnected her phone from our plan. She didn't even try to fight it, just sent one text. "I guess we'll talk when you're calm." That's what she called this. A mood. A phase. I wasn't calm. I was focused. I started digging. There was an old iPad she rarely used, synced to her iCloud. She must have forgotten, or thought I wouldn't remember the passcode. I did. Inside were photos. Hundreds. Most were normal, brunches, work events, outfits. But then I found a hidden folder labeled work trips. They weren't selfies. They were pictures of her and him. Holding hands in a hotel bar. Drinking wine in a robe. Cuddling on a balcony. Her kissing his cheek at some rooftop restaurant. And the worst one? A mirror selfie. She's in lingerie. He's behind her. His hand on her waist. Her wedding ring still on her finger. My ring. The date on the photo? 2 weeks before our wedding. In the exact same hotel they Used for business travel. They didn't start cheating during the marriage. They started before it. Everything we built, the vows, the memories, the house. It was all constructed on a lie. And I was the idiot who funded the foundation. I didn't go to his office. I waited for him in the parking lot. Suit and tie. Coffee in one hand. Briefcase in the other. Just another Tuesday morning for a man who'd ked another man's wife in his own bed. He flinched when he saw me. Not fear, more like surprise. Like I'd ruined his schedule. I'm not here to fight, I said. I just want to talk. Man to man. He hesitated, then nodded. We walked to a bench under a tree. The sun was still low, ironic, really. Because this conversation was about to be the darkest thing I'd ever lived through. I pulled out the photos. Laid them in his lap. He didn't deny a single one. Didn't even blink. Finally I said, "Why? You knew she was married. You knew who I was." He looked at me like he was doing me a favor by answering. "She told me you knew." "What?" "She said it was an arrangement. That you were distant. Didn't touch her. That you gave her permission to find what she needed." I stared at him, stunned. "She told you I was okay with this?" He nodded slowly. "She said you didn't care?" I laughed. Out loud. A long, painful, ugly sound that didn't feel like it came from me. "She lied to both of us," I said. He shrugged. "Maybe. But she never made me feel like a secret." That line hit harder than anything else. He wasn't ashamed. He was proud. Proud of being the chosen one in a story she spun out of thin air. And I realized. This wasn't just about betrayal. This was about identity theft, not of money, but of me. She stole my role. Rewrote me. Replaced me. And I didn't even get to audition. I told her to meet me at a diner. Public place. Neutral ground. Somewhere with fluorescent lights and a camera in the corner, not for safety, but to remind me this was real. That it was happening. She walked in 15 minutes late, as always. Like this wasn't urgent. Like I hadn't watched her blow up our marriage in high definition. She sat across from me like she still belonged there. No shame in her eyes. No apology in her hands. Just calm. I slid the photos across the table. "The trips?" I said. "The hotel. The money. Him." She didn't touch the photos. Didn't even look at them. "You were never supposed to find out," she said softly. "That's the only thing I'm sorry for." I blinked. "That's it?" She nodded. I felt heat rise in my chest. "All the lies, all the gaslighting, the years." "I didn't lie," she interrupted. "I just didn't tell you everything." That was the moment I realized. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't even confused. She had already rewritten the story in her head. "I kept things separate," she continued. "You and him. I never brought him into our life. You brought him into my king bed," I said. She rolled her eyes. "One time." I laughed. A dead, broken sound. "One time?" She leaned forward. "You don't understand. I needed him. Not forever. Just for balance." Balance. That word sat on the table between us like a weapon. "You didn't need him," I said. "You needed an audience. And I was the idiot who bought a front row ticket." She stood up without touching her coffee. "I'm not here to fight." "Of course not," I said. "You've already won." I hired a lawyer the next morning. I thought filing for divorce would feel like closure. Like taking the first step toward healing. Instead, it felt like trying to dig out of a grave someone else buried me in. My attorney, a quiet guy named Reynolds with sharp glasses and no patience for *T, went through the paperwork like a machine. He paused once. "You aware your wife started a business last year?" he asked. I looked up. "What?" He turned his monitor toward me. "LLC, AVA Consulting Group. Registered address, my house. Financial guarantor, my name. Not hers. Mine. She'd used my credit, my address, and a forged version of my signature to launch some fake consulting firm she never once mentioned to me. Reynolds whistled low. If this goes south, taxes, fraud, lawsuits, they don't come after her. They come after you. I felt sick. She hadn't just cheated. She'd used my identity like it was a business tool. She'd set up this entire structure behind my back while I was busy being the supportive husband. And I paid for the F*** King printer ink. I asked if we could go after her for it. Reynolds shook his head. Hard to prove forgery when you were married at the time. It's gray area. She'll probably walk. So I asked the only thing I really wanted to know. How many more surprises should I expect? He didn't answer. He just clicked open another folder labeled Joint Liabilities. And that's when I realized. She wasn't just leaving me with a broken heart. She was leaving me in debt. I didn't want to talk to her parents. But something inside me, maybe stubborn hope, maybe desperation, made me think they'd offer clarity. Or empathy. Or at least shock. I drove to their house. Suburbs. Perfect lawn. Wind chimes. The kind of place where people say grace before dinner and pretend everything's fine. Her mother answered the door. Warm smile, tired eyes. I told her everything. Not in anger, just facts. The affair. The money. The fake business. The forged documents. She didn't interrupt. Didn't gasp. She just sighed. Then said the one thing that shattered whatever belief I had left in this family. We always knew she had tendencies. Tendencies? Her father stepped in. Crossed his arms. Quiet but stern. She's done this before, he said. Not to this extent, but she uses people. She always has. I felt the ground tilt beneath me. You knew? I said, barely breathing. And you didn't warn me? Her mother looked down at her hands. We hoped, maybe you'd be the one to fix her. Fix her. Like I was some emotional rehab center. Like my job was to absorb damage, rewire dysfunction, and pretend it was love. Instead, her father added, she got better at hiding it. I left without another word. Because what else was there to say? She hadn't just lied to me. She was raised to lie. And everyone around her had made peace with it, long before I ever met her. The letter came certified. She was countersuing. Not for the house. Not for spousal support. Not for shared assets. For my retirement fund. The letter said she was entitled to half the value accrued during the marriage. Because, as her attorney wrote, her role as emotional support enabled the petitioner's professional growth. I sat at the kitchen table reading that sentence over and over again, wondering what kind of person could light a match and then bill you for the ashes. I called Reynolds. He was calm. Always was. She's legally entitled to file, he said. Doesn't mean she'll win. But she might? He exhaled. This is what people like her do. They don't leave. They extract. I didn't respond. Because I knew she didn't want the money. She wanted control. She wanted to walk away last. So I made my own move. I sold the house. I drained the account. I transferred my retirement into a protected trust under my sister's name, legally airtight, according to Reynolds. Then I filed a final motion. No settlement. No payout. No contact. Just gone. She showed up to the last hearing wearing white like it was a King wedding. She looked at me like I owed her something. Like she still expected a reaction. All I said was, "You didn't destroy me. You just made room for something better." She smirked. Like she'd still won. But when the judge banged the gavel and said, "Case closed," I didn't feel broken. I felt free. The end.